and I can buy a lot of cat food with that $5.
What's up, response on players? We're back, another weekly podcast. This one a little bit different than usual. But before you get into that, I'm Jake, and I'll be leading this fiasco.
I'm Brian. I'm wingmanning this fiasco.
I'm Nick. They let me out of the basement again. I don't know why.
And we're joined by a very special guest. This is going to be the first time we had a guest, and hopefully not the last time. We're joined by a friend of the channel.
Hi, I'm Sam Tate, and I'm playing a game of Fiasco.
Hey, I love that game.
Hey,
The game is cool.
We've got Sam Tate from AceManeuvers. Sam, AceManeuvers Tate. If you know him, you know him. One of the coolest.
That's exactly how I feel when you're like doing intro and like tell people who you are. I'm like, I run AceManeuvers. If you know me, you know me. If you don't, you will.
You're about.
Plus,
to.
I mean, you're a constant caster on the official Universus stream.
Yep. I get to do about half the events now, right? Because we've got 6 people on the team. I host my own events. I've got Ace Arena as a series as like a quick single elimination 1-day event, and then I've been doing Webcam Warriors, which is an all-day Swiss cut to top 8 webcam 1-day event. So both have been a lot of fun, and I would consider very successful.
I mean, they seem pretty successful. You've run more than one, and everybody's usually jazzed about them when they come up. I do have a question for you. Since you do a bunch of webcam events, how do you feel about the current state of webcam?
It's tough because while I do consider the events very successful, that is primarily because of like really good community support. You know, talking about like Marvin Emery with Undefeated at Locals. You know, he's another content creator. He's got his own team. He got to join us at the Albuquerque Creator Summit.
Very
He
nice
is like,
guy.
yeah, he has personally funded probably like half the pricing of the online community events, right? So he's been like a huge part of it. And there was like a lot of outside sponsor support for like the first, like the first webcam circuit and the first webcam warriors. But it does feel like there was like wildfire that like burned out a little quickly, like people have just kind of softened on it when there's one that's like every 3 weeks. Um, it's really not that special, right? It's not something to necessarily go out of your way for, and I think that's kind of where we're at. There's like there's a revival, and now the revival has happened. People are kind of like, I guess, complacent. Like it's just not the biggest deal.
Yeah, if you do have something going, every week, like your locals, I don't go to locals every week. I'm lucky enough to have a locals for the most part, and it never feels too special. It feels like just my locals. And I know that Tam does a webcam weekly, and they're doing a webcam circuit. He and David Toombs, I believe,
Yeah,
which is pretty good. It seemed to be have some traction, but I know that David Toombs did post that he was stepping away from the webcam stuff to focus on his content and everything else. So I wonder how that's going to impact like webcam warriors and how that's going to impact the rest of the webcam going forward.
yeah. So we pretty much saw with like the webcam warriors, like one of them had like amazing pricing to like a box to everyone in top 8, and then there's an additional box for the winner, and like a box that was a giveaway for someone watching the event. So you didn't even have to play in the event, because it's twofold. We also need like that social media traction, like as content creators and stuff like that. Like part of showing interest in webcam is also viewing them, even if you can't play, right? Showing up, and another way to support is to like support the channels through subscriptions and things like that. So like, I know for Tam Cardwell, getting like Twitch subscribers and stuff is like, that's like a big reason to be willing to host them instead of playing in them, because he gets most of his content from playing the game. And then Snuggy was an amazing host. He helped me. They helped me out with the second Webcam Warriors, and they were not only amazing at like running the stream, but they also provided prizing for viewers. To get like more people watching the channel. So there's more than one way to support Webcam. It's just one of those things where the last Webcam Warriors, I think, was during local championship season. So it was like 50-50. Did your local championship fall on a Saturday or a Sunday? And I decided to do Sunday instead of Saturday because last time people said, "Oh my gosh, if you could do Sunday, I would have played." And then that Sunday was their local championship. So there's a lot of little things that you just can't control.
Mhm.
And I think I can like sum up what would benefit Webcam play the most with one idea.
And that is
Just a bigger player base. I don't think there's anything wrong with the events. I think the prizing for the events has been great. It's top heavy, but that's how it is. I get, you know what I mean? Like it's not bad to have a top heavy tournament. The average tournament for anything, for any hobby, like it's only like in like tabletop gaming of all kinds, and even mostly just card games where like participation prizing is a thing. Like if you play in a golf tournament, you don't get anything for last place. And part of playing in the golf tournament is to like play and compete. So I don't think there's anything wrong with the tournaments. It's just there's only so many people and they have other ways to play Universus on weekends that are either more important because they give worlds points, or you need to show up and support your locals too. You need to be like the TO. Like a lot of the most indentured players, they're the TOs and the judges for their locals. If they don't show up, it doesn't happen.
the indentured players.
Is that not the word?
Um, I mean, are they servants? Are they indebted?
Well, I mean, if you have to be TO and judge, kinda. Are we paying
Right.
our TOs? Are we paying our
Well,
judges?
Some might
no.
be committed.
They're volunteers, I guess.
Invested would probably be the word I'd use.
Invested.
Though
Okay.
I do think
Invested is
indentured, very funny.
That's is probably the word I was thinking of. But yeah, no, that's I think to kind of cut, I guess it kind of cuts the conversation short, I guess. But I think when people are like, "What's wrong? Why isn't there all this backing for Webcam?" And it's just that there's not a lot of backing for regionals. We've had the smallest regionals we've had outside of like one Pasadena and one Vegas. Like we haven't had 100-person regional yet. So I think it's just player base issue in general.
So, is that to say that you feel like the player base is shrinking, or
I mean, attendance is down, right? That's not
well,
controversial.
well, I think about it this way: we have more events, so I think people are more picking and choosing their events because, like beforehand, you used to have like what 3 regionals here in the U.S. that you had, and you had to go to probably all 3 of them if you think you were going to Worlds. And now you don't have to do that. I've gone to 2 regionals, and I'm 1 point away from my day 1 Worlds. I could just be done and go to none for the rest of the season.
I mean, that's potentially part of it, but that's something people asked for, right? People wanted more regionals, more opportunities to play because the main feedback they got was, I don't get to play now because there's only 3. So that could be part of it, but and people have talked about like, oh, the locations aren't great, but as far as like the fact that they have to serve a regional purpose, they are regional tournaments. Like the West Coast had one at a convention last year, right? Like the Vegas one was like the first one.
Mhm.
The first ones after Worlds, I think, are also smaller, which is like crazy. It makes like almost no sense to me that like if you did a regional like the week after Worlds, it should be like the Raw after WrestleMania, where it's like the biggest deal. Like the hype should be at an all-time high.
I
You would
agree, that it would normally. I would assume that there'd be a little bit. I do think with the way our season or our seasons are kind of structured, there is a lot right there before Worlds, and Worlds being a capstone. I feel like maybe there's a little bit of fatigue, but I agree that overall I would assume that it'd still be higher on average.
Uh, I don't know. I don't know about higher on average after Worlds. I know that after I do a regional, I sometimes will miss locals for like 2 weeks because I'm kind of like thinked out. I mean, we do a lot of extra stuff at these regionals also with like filming and all this stuff. So maybe it's a little bit different for us, but to be completely honest, I definitely get like not being as big and not being like as raring to go right after a big event. And to be honest, even though our attendance is technically down, it's really not by that much per regional. We were at what we Albuquerque was bigger than Denver by a couple of people, and I believe they were 86 plus, almost 90.
I believe
Yeah,
we had
89.
88 or 89, yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's that bad because like our Vegas was only like 119 or something.
Vegas wasn't even. I don't even think
Well, I
Vegas broke
guess.
100. I think it broke like one. I think it was like 105.
Well, so I'm talking, I guess, at like a bigger scale because I'm thinking back to SCG Con Nationals like 2 years ago
Hmm.
and how we had a steady decline in players over that year, and then it's not come back up. Like it's just it kind of cratered right when MHA rotated out, or like when it stopped being MHA only. There's just a huge drop off of players, who just wanted to play the MHA card game. And I'm thinking
Hmm.
like from that point, because we had like a 450-ish person tournament, and it was the biggest UFS tournament ever. And so it's like by definition the peak. And so it it just we've been on a steady decline since then. And we see, little spikes back up, but we haven't had like a 200 person event in a long time. And we used to get like 200-person provisionals, not even regionals, because we used to have
I remember
multiple
those.
tiers of competitive play. We used to get 200 people on a webcam, and webcam's not the most enjoyable experience. As someone who runs it, as someone who's played almost exclusively webcam competitive events for like 2 years now, um, I love webcam as an opportunity, but it doesn't, it definitely doesn't beat playing in front of people.
Well, and
Agreed.
to touch on the bad experience here in just a minute, to follow through with the main thread, um, I maybe we have had a steady decline since then. I know that it was really big for a minute, but you also have to look at like card game saturation is a real thing, and like people, if
Yeah.
you're playing this game for the IPs, like Bandai puts out a new IP game like every fucking year.
Yeah.
Like Union,
Hmm.
they've got their Union Arena that is like hitting
Yeah, I'm
some
getting
of
real tired of the Union Arena post. Sorry to cut you off, but like, can we just cut it out with the did we lose such and such animated Union Arena? It's Bandai. They're putting out everything, guys. Just
yeah,
chill.
they've got touches like they've got some of the high like some of
Hmm.
the top shonens. Like we get it, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of like slightly better Weichhorst to me. Weichhorst has been doing that type of thing for a long time, but like the game's super luck based and in my opinion not very fun to play. A lot of the times in those games, it feels like your choices don't actually have an impact on what you're doing,
No, not at
which is why I play Universus. I want to lose for a mistake I made 2 turns ago.
all. Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I get it. They're putting out everything, and it doesn't necessarily mean we lost a license. And like,
well,
I'm
the
just
big thing is like
so
I don't
annoyed.
even I know shops are carrying less Union Arena than they are Universes for some of
Yeah,
them, but it's a Bandai card game. Like they hit gold with One Piece. One Piece was a hot seller for the first like
Yeah.
5 sets. You couldn't touch it. Like
well, they
it was
picked
sold
like
out in stores. Like
they picked like the one anime that's as old and as popular as Dragon Ball, and hasn't had a card game in a long time.
Yeah, and like even Dragon Ball had points where it was massive. I remember going to a Vegas regional that had like almost 500 people playing Dragon Ball Super, the
Yeah.
card game, and like now they've kind of split that off into two formats, and I don't think they're having as many people turn up for that as they were. People just they get tired of games, they move on, they get saturated, and it's really about bringing new people in. The benefit for Bandai is it doesn't matter because they have some of the coolest IPs, or
Well,
like
and they don't
stuff
have
like
an approval process.
yeah, exactly. And they have like you have like Dragon Ball the card game. Yeah, we all know Dragon Ball. We grew up here in the West. Like it was one of the main fathers of anime here.
Yeah.
So like of course you know Dragon Ball Super. One Piece, it's the number one shonen anime. But like it's the number one, like period. It's been running forever. It's got a massive fan base. Like how do you touch it? You don't. And they
One
just
Piece
keep
fans are actually insane, by the way.
yeah. So
They set timers for like when the next time Oda, the mangaka, is gonna like publicly speak or something. It's weird.
that's all right. I do that every time I think you're gonna speak. So
Don't.
yes, I do.
How would you
Uh,
know?
Well, yeah, I'll get inside information. But like, I understand, but I don't think there's too much correlation with the My Hero license, like not doing too much My Hero, like gravitating because you would think expanding into more stuff, especially because in our game you can mix your IPs, whereas like in Union Arena you can't. You're playing Bleach or you're playing My Hero.
Yeah.
Yeah, give something like that a few sets, and you're not going to be able to play Bleach anymore.
Yeah, it's just like the Card Fight Vanguard problem, where like during V Series, early V Series for Vanguard, um, you like the way they release stuff. Not every faction got support. So after like 3 booster sets, your stuff was borderline unplayable. You were just rotated out.
Couldn't imagine a card's not getting support or like a
Yeah, can you imagine?
I could never. You know, it's a
Imagine
good
entire-
thing that
Rip my boy Sung Jin Woo.
never heard of him. Sung Jin who?
Exactly.
Yeah. Rip the
Uh,
all symbol, never coming back.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, definitely something like that.
I know chaos. I know evil. I
Heck yeah, I know death.
know fire.
Well, Evil's
okay.
probably Evil's on life support. It got like 2 cards.
It's fun.
Yeah, got
I
like
know
one
life.
card.
Never heard of it.
Life is sticking around.
Yeah, life will stick around.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's really an IP thing. I think this year we're still. I think Worlds is going to be really big.
Okay.
I think we're gonna see. I think more people are starting to look into the game. They're putting a real big effort on like demoing the game and getting it out there. Because like the big thing is like you can shove out these IPs, but those Bandai games they also like start faltering at least a little bit. And it's all about like what are you doing to get new people? Well, Bandai doesn't have to worry about that because they have the high IP and they're putting out a new fucking card game, like I said, every year. We've got the Gundam card game coming out this year.
True.
And with that card game, they're putting out a tabletop game for it.
Yeah,
Sort of.
true.
Then we've got Riftbound. I think once Riftbound comes out, I think people are going to get really interested in Riftbound, and that's going to cause people the side effect, the Bandai effect, rather, as I like to call it. People are going to order stuff for Universus and Riftbound more.
hope
I've seen some gameplay of Riftbound and stuff, and I think it looks cool. So I'm excited to get my hands on it at some point, especially if anybody at UVS can get me in contact with Riot employees or whoever I need to do.
I don't
We'll do a
that
video. We'll nope, we're doing it. I'm shilling again. Here I go, shilling again.
Shut up.
I'm afraid that I'll like Riftbound, honestly. I'm afraid that I'll actually get sucked into it because I was a league player. I was a daily league player. I put over 9,000 hours in like 3 years or something, and I was glad that like the game changed so much that I could just let it go. And I'm like afraid that I'll like Riftbound, and then all this stuff that I know about League is different now, and it makes me feel old.
That's fair. I mean, I've been playing League of Legends off and on since season 2. I have season 2 stuff on my account.
I had a season 1 account, but my genius, I was like, oh, I leveled up and there's like all these new player bonuses, right? And at the time you had to spend in-game currency that you mostly got from leveling up from 1 to 30 on
Mhm.
runes. And it was
Yep.
easier instead of grinding for a second page of runes to just make a second account. And
Yep.
so I had the account that like my first account ended up getting like I lost the info or whatever, it's unrecoverable. But my second account was like a season 2 one, but I had a season 1 account.
Heck yeah. Yeah, and to kind of steer us back into universes and card games, I feel like once Riftbound drops, I think um I think universes will get a little bit more love because you'll have more people, like you already have more people looking into Riftbound.
Mhm.
So I think once people have their hands on it and they go, well, what else? Oh, this is a Bandai, because I know plenty of people, they go, oh, it's a Bandai game, I'm gonna play it. So I'm hoping we get some of that side effect.
It can't be bad. It can't be bad for the game. You
No,
know,
absolutely not.
people are like afraid that it's like they're gonna go, oh, Riftbound is successful and Universes is not. We'll just drop it and like there is a world where that could happen. You know, like business decisions can
Yeah,
happen, but I
for
don't
sure.
think that like that's not like the goal. You know, like that's not step one. You know, that's like something else went horribly wrong. You know, so I think that just the fact that people will have to see the name Universes Games when they look at Riftbound stuff is good for the game Universes.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I was gonna say, in kind of in that vein, I do agree that overall, most likely, it's going to be a rising tide raises all ships kind of situation for the company. But towards Jake's point about the Bandai players playing Bandai games, they don't care. There is a level of, if all of the Bandai IPs are basically cool and you know they're going to get Bandai support and Bandai's going to throw their money behind it, there's a world where you decide, I'll dabble in the game, and at worst, I get out scot free, right? I just decide to cut my losses, get rid of those cards to the people who care more, and I keep the Bandai game I want to play. And that's not as true for our ecosystem of these two games, right?
Yeah, not between the two. I do feel like in a weird way, you could probably jump in and cash out of universes pretty easily right now. Um if you're willing to like find the right people and haggle, because people complain that it's not very accessible right now because people aren't selling their cards. Um but if you do find people that are, in my experience, they're usually happy to sell like in bulk, you know, to like move a collection or move like a
Mm-hmm.
huge amount of staples. Like almost everyone posts a giant lot of cards and goes, you know, here's a bundle deal, get it like 50% off if you buy everything. And if you are the person who just bought a playset of Walk the Dogs and then you want to jump out like 3 months later and people are still like, oh my God, nobody's selling Walk the Dogs, you know, like you could probably jump in and out right now pretty well.
I, I mean, the one thing you have to worry about, obviously, is getting hit by rotation, depending on when you were trying to get in and out. But I agree that I think our secondary market is, in some ways, worse than when I joined in MHA and better than when I joined. It's better if you're wanting to sell stuff. It's a little worse if you're wanting to buy the stuff.
Yeah, I don't feel like enough people are really just cracking product to just crack product, outside of like our lunatic friends. What do you have to say
The
about
ones
that,
that aren't
Nick?
here,
I mean, I'm here.
that's true.
Don't look at me too closely though.
Because he's cracking packs. He's ordering stuff on his phone right now.
He's over there literally fiendishly scraping his neck as he just put in an order for 4 more boxes of Attack on Titan, 3 play sets of Attack Titan Haymaker, and a play set of some crazy promo.
I like those
Yeah,
cards.
it's funny to hear people ask, why are the boxes for AOT 1 and 2 so cheap? and I'm looking at my unopened boxes that I got with loyalty points.
Yeah, I mean,
You know?
I cracked mine. I got
Can't
some
imagine.
boxes. I got some boxes with mine and was like, Daddy needs a new Attack Titans Haymakers for my playset, and yeah, I pulled one. So out of my, I'm like,
Hell
I'm
yeah.
net positive. I pulled like, I actually pulled some sick stuff. I got like an alt art manipulations of Zeke Yeager, which is highly playable, and like Attack Titans Haymaker and stuff. Like, a pretty good box, but like that's the kind of stuff like people aren't really opening enough. Like, they are. I don't know. I feel both ways about this because I don't feel like any cards are like too crazy expensive, but I'm extremely privileged. Like and I will admit I'm ridiculously privileged. If I don't have something, which I share a collection with my brother, Andrew, who is gonna have to edit all this.
True.
I share a collection with him, and so like anytime we go in, we go halves on cases. We go or like stuff like that. So it's a lot more affordable. And then also, if I don't have something, I just go, Brian.
I
And
know
then if
all
I don't
about
have it, I go,
Brian.
James.
Exactly.
Ask him. Um,
One day I'll be that person that gets asked.
we'll just give it a couple more sets, and I'm sure you'll be there.
Exactly.
You already are. I borrowed in Denver. I borrowed a bunch of stuff from you.
I tried to.
True. We're not going to talk about the Denver event that too much.
That didn't work out.
The idea of like the not cracking enough boxes, etc., I think ties back into what Sam was talking about earlier, where the player base might be shrinking, or definitely feels that way at least.
Or at least, I guess, like the tournament player base, because I've been told that Attack on Titan has had like the biggest pre-releases ever, and it's like sales in different markets are up and stuff like that. So it's hard for me to see the results of that. But as far as like people who are getting like invested in the game, it certainly feels that way. Like people are invested are the ones trying to sell on secondary markets and stuff.
I definitely think that there's that illusion, like you said, there's a world where we just don't see it, and the game's way bigger than it's ever been, but these people don't want to go play at the tournaments with us,
or they don't have places to play regularly, so they might lack the confidence to come sit in a room full of people like top competitive players. And if you really think about it that way, that's one reason why I'm really glad that events are trying to like cater to people that are maybe just getting in. I think the boss battles are very good. I think cosplay contests and things to do at these events, like the more we can ramp up that type of stuff, I think the more you'll see people like start dipping their toes into competitive.
It's fair.
I was surprised how many people showed up for the cosplay contest. I didn't know about it, I think, until either like maybe the week of or the day of. So
That's fair. There was a lot of contestants.
There were quite a few contestants, and I would like to see more stuff like that at these events, and like it advertised more as a general event with the regional attached to it, with like fun stuff to do, like boss battles and like learn to plays and stuff like that. Advertised maybe at like game stores and stuff. I don't know how much it has been advertised, but I think that type of stuff is really neat. And if you can get people to come out and cosplay their favorite characters, or a group of friends come through, like you might convert some amount of people.
True. I was gonna say, I a little insider information. I was told that stuff was actually advertised for the Albuquerque one in the local area, but there was also an actual convention going on the same weekend we were there.
Yeah, and it had a cosplay contest and everything as well.
Yeah.
Same day.
Yeah, but there's definitely like an effort to, if we do an event at a convention, have signage up at the convention like, oh, there's going to be a cosplay contest Sunday. So like all the people who are already in cosplay are going to go to the booth, Universus area, whatever, on Sunday. So like I'm hopeful for stuff like that. And that is a great way to grow the game in the most important way as the company, which is the kitchen table meta. The kitchen table casual players, like I've got friends who drop, I'll just say, a unreasonable amount of money on Magic the Gathering cards that play like once every 2 months, and like they are not the players. Like if they were if you took that as like a Universus player, someone who plays that much, they would not be the players that I'm referring to when I say like the game is shrinking, right? But if they get more of those players, that's only good for the game, and they make up the majority of like Magic's player base.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I'm a product of that also. Like, most of my main play is Universus, but I probably spend more on Magic than I intend to, oftentimes. But I also work at a card store, so I'm around it all day, and it's hard not to touch the cardboard. Um, Nick, how do you feel about the like accessibility of cards and player base, and the prospect of doing webcams as a new player? Because while you aren't necessarily new to the game, you stopped playing. What set did you stop playing?
My Hero Set 1.
Yeah. So, and now you're back. You've now gone to 2 events. Give us some info.
Yeah, so I mean, when I first got back into it all, there were a few things that I felt like I needed, and I just recently picked up my playset of Haymakers, and I've picked up some other just cards that are good to have, but it's not that they weren't easy to find, because if you're looking for something, you can find it nowadays with just how accessible the internet is. You find the trade groups, people are selling on those all the time. It's a matter of cost. Cost is the largest barrier for getting some of these older staples that aren't in printed sets. So I do like I do with all things, and I spend way too much money on a card game that I enjoy. I got those cards that I needed. Going to the events was really fun though. Honestly, I think consistent 80 plus players at both events. I mean, the tables were full. I think I don't have the past experience to go off of, but the game seems semi healthy in terms of player base. With so many events happening all the time, people like we talked about, people can't go to all of them. I know I can only go to 2 more this year tops, and I'm hoping to get enough points to be able to make it to day 1 of Worlds.
I was actually going to talk, because it was brought up earlier, about the confidence to show up at a regional, and the way I built my confidence to do that was to play in a webcam provisional.
Hey,
to tie back into our actual topic.
To just touch on that briefly, as well as somebody that just kind of re-entered the scene. If I didn't have you guys to go with and people that I knew and like could interact with at these events, I would have never gone. I mean, I have not done well at either regional for various reasons, but not something I would have gone and done solo. So that is just a barrier to entry as well.
Yeah, I would definitely have never gone to any card game event by myself, and it's actually a big reason I don't go to like Star Wars events. Is I just don't have any friends that still play the game. Like I had one friend, he went to one event and he had not a great time, and I don't have any friends that like will go with me. So that's super real.
Something I think would be kind of interesting to see, to tie back into our main subject of webcam games, is a webcam regional.
Oh, like we used to have.
Yeah, I didn't know that was the thing.
Yeah.
But I think that would be very accessible for a lot of people, and I think you would see the numbers skyrocket at that point. doing something like that is a low barrier to entry. You don't have to like interact with people. You're playing the game.
Agreed. That's why that was my entry, was the provisional into the first webcam regional as well. Because at the time I didn't have any friends that played, and I was like, well, I want to play. This seems cool. And so I committed to that. I did fine at that, and then I was like, well, you know what? Maybe I can go to one of these.
Yeah, and people talk about it being like its own barrier of entry, right? Like you have to have a good webcam setup or something. And I just when I look at the price of a plane ticket and I look at the price of a webcam and a webcam stand, and then I look at like some of these actual setups in these webcam events, there's just no way that the barrier of entry for webcam is as high as a single plane ticket. Like considering I couldn't even sign up for a regional in Denver, there's no way there's no way that the barrier of entry lies with the equipment you need. It's a valid reason, don't get me wrong. Not everyone can
Has
drop
a
money
computer.
on
Yeah.
not everyone can like drop money on this stuff, and I get that. I've been waiting to replace my own webcam for a long time, so I get it. But it's just not as big of a deal as going to one in person.
Yeah, I mean maybe, but like
Unless you can drive there.
my big opinion on like the webcam stuff is like if you have webcam regionals and like or like how we had the webcam wish tournament, people are more incentivized to cheat when there's a real reward behind it.
Oh,
Right.
okay. So we're gonna talk about the elephant in the room.
I mean, I'm not an elephant, But-
No, you're not.
but
Yeah.
it goes to show like people are willing to throw away sportsmanship and all that stuff to try to win a shiny prize. It happened with the Wish tournament. I mean, because of the Wish tournament, speaking of negative play experiences on webcam, I don't play webcam events because of how bad my experience was in the Wish
Yeah.
tournament. Like I think we talked about it in Denver, but I literally played against a guy playing in the back of a car and where his cards shifted into his lap completely off board. Can't tell what's what. It's all mixed up twice. He didn't get a game loss. He got a don't let it happen again.
Which that's wild work. Like that's maybe we should wait for the judge program before we try to do official webcam, because there has to be people willing to just look at the situation and give the penalty. Like that is just not an acceptable setup in the first place, right? Like
Yeah, I mean,
Agreed.
as soon as game starts, we're like both trying to communicate, and he's like, I hit him. He's like, yeah, I'll take 4, and I'm like, bro, this is for like 12, and he's like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, I thought you said 4, and I was like, dude, no point did I say 4.
Maybe it was a 4 mid for 12.
It was just like he's just like not being able to understand what I'm saying back and forth because like it's choppy and I can like barely put through what he's playing. And then finally it evens out a little bit, but his board slides in his lap. And I go, dude, I'm calling a judge. That's an irreparable game state. How do I know it's supposed to all be down there? You're playing Tagoro. You're just moving shit down there. And he's like, no, it's fine. And I'm like, so I ping a judge, and by the time the judge gets back, he's putting it's almost all back up. And I'm like, yeah, of course. As soon as I say I'm pinging a judge, there's he's gonna rush to put his shit back up.
Yeah,
and
you
like,
almost kind of can't tell.
Yeah, and I'm like his stuff just slid off his board into his lap, and they're like, yeah, don't let it happen again.
So, this is kind of related to, I guess, I don't even think it's really a hot take, but it's like the ugly truth. And that is that webcam has differences in like how foul play, because I would consider that foul play. Like I'm I'm somebody who's like, if you make a mistake, like I get like not snitching on yourself, but there's like a certain like level, where you have to like take responsibility. Like if your camera's frozen, and you just like do the fucking One Piece pose, or you put your hands on the table or whatever. Like I don't know, man. I feel like that there's like a lack of respect, like there's just a lack of respect for me as a player and for the judges who like you're putting in a position to try and tell, like if you're frozen and you like freeze yourself to like not give it away, like, you know, I would call that foul play. And so the issue is that it's just different in person. This kind of stuff still happens, you know, like people have been screwed over because invincible body was ruled as a damage penalty, which it 100% is not, you know.
Mhm.
And people cheat and they accidentally cheat on it or in person as well. And what's crazy to me is I feel like on webcam you would be better off because you can record it. Like the whole way that we caught Jose and we caught Omar was because they were recorded games. And
True.
these things are happening in person. And again, a lot of it, the biggest, I'll tell you right now, the biggest problem with cheating, you know, quotations around problem, is it looks like an accident in your favor, you know, and everyone makes accidents and we all make accidents in our favor, right? But like when there's something that's like you know, definitive cheating and stuff, like you're way better off if we're all recording our games and reviewing the footage later to find that person and ban them, even if it's after the fact, before they get the prize, hopefully, you know. So like it's crazy to me that people get down on webcam cheating when it's not like the environment should make it easier to catch. The reason people cheat on webcam is not because it's easier to cheat on webcam. It's because they don't have to stand in a room with 100 other people looking at them going, wow, look at that fucking cheater when they get kicked out of the tournament. You know, it's the safety net of being alone that gives them the boldness to cheat. It has nothing to do with the fact that webcam makes it quote unquote easy to cheat.
It makes it easy psychologically to cheat.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if people can misdirect you and if people can like pull stuff, you know, from out of eyesight, like people have been caught on camera at in-person Magic tournaments doing the fucking lap cheat in the year 2025. People just have cards in their lap that you can see on camera. So like cheating in person on camera happens. You know, like we're lucky that it's recorded. So I don't know. My big thing with people talking about cheating on webcam was like, yes, it happened, but it's happened in person and you just don't know about it. Which one's worse?
My big thing about the thing is, like I said, like I was saying, like mine is more of a negative experience. I don't think he did that intentionally to cheat. You know, the guy that, you know, his whole lap, he was in a moving car. But
Right,
like,
but he is not
what
playing
we
fair.
had a whole
But-
judges meeting. We had a whole judges players meeting about being in a stable environment and having a stable connection to participate.
Right.
You jump in and see a dude's in a fucking moving car. He's already breaking the damn rules.
I mean,
Right.
at that point, you should have said something.
You should have screenshotted it. It would have made
Yeah.
one of the best fucking memes of all time, bro.
Well, I think
true.
like we
Fucking
saw,
Universus on motorcycles.
hell, yeah, I've already made that joke.
Yeah.
But that's
But, like-
what I'm saying. Like it should be like obviously this guy can't play in the back of his car at an in-person regional, but
Oh,
you
dude,
know-
you know what? If we're both playing in the back of his car, I think that's funny. That's fine.
that's
I
yeah,
mean, if you're both in the same car, it's a stable environment, relatively speaking.
it's even
Yeah.
funnier, yeah. But that's kind of what I'm getting at is like it should be you should be able to screenshot that and maybe not like publicly shame somebody, but like go to the judge, like the head judge after and be like, here's the shot. Like you have to explain to me how this is okay. You know, because I've had it where I had a similar experience. I had a webcam tournament. I think it was a 1K, and I think I lost round one, so I'm already grumpy, right? You know, I'm already not happy. And my opponent for round two is calling me on the phone while they're driving. I can hear their kids in the background. I can hear the car door opening. I can hear the car driving. And they're going to be late for round two. And they're like 15 minutes late. And I call the judge at 5 minutes or whatever. He's like, yeah, it's going to be a round loss, you know? And I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. And I call the judge at 10 minutes and he's in the call, but his camera's not turned on. And you can hear him like getting out of his car and like opening his front door, talking to the judge. And the judge is like, you're here now, so you're gonna lose round 1 or whatever, and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, I guess it's been 10 minutes, but I guess. And then 15 minutes, I called the judge again, and at this point, the judge says, "Well, we don't want to be dicks to anybody, and it's a cool Saturday, so we'll just say you lost the dice roll."
So the
And I'm
problem
like,
here is the judges. is
yeah,
what
I'm like,
hearing from everybody's
dice,
experience. Like,
yeah,
we
I'm like,
Yeah.
look for judges for our games, and to make an actual webcam
right.
scene,
Well,
it
and
is required
so
to have judges and rules enforced.
yeah,
Mhm.
so after that event, after that round, like, spoiler, I lose like 1-0 in time anyways or something, because didn't get a time extension either, and didn't play for the first 15 minutes and all this other stuff. And afterwards, I go to the judge and I'm like, "Hey man, you got to explain this to me." And they ended up giving me like a refund. Like, everything was cool. They handled it after the fact well, but he like reversed his game loss decision, didn't give a match loss, and I had to like, I showed him like the tournament rules. I'm like, this is what should have happened. Like, and like talk to him like a human being afterwards. I didn't like fight him at the time. I didn't undermine him, right, as the judge of the event. And I think he was TOing it too. But like afterwards, I pulled him aside and I'm like, please explain this to me. And he apologized, and like everything's cool now. But yeah, that just goes back to like what Nick is saying. Like, we need like a judge program that also has webcam specific stuff in it.
Yeah, with like real protocols and stuff like that. My big thing for webcam stuff is it is also just not safe to have events that are worth the pricing that makes the people excited, uh, in a meaningful way that is people not going to cheat. Like, whether or not you cheat in person, like on accident, or like, because like we all do it sometimes. Like, I've played USK and forgotten to remove a card that I played with Spirit in the name for my drop. Like, and when I catch it, I go, "Hey, this was actually supposed to be removed. My bad." And I've caught it when I'm going, "Oh, well, I'm gonna block with this card. Oh, I can't block with this card. My apologies."
Yeah.
Uh, but like that type of stuff happens, but it's so much easier to check. And I feel like the pressure of being in front of somebody and like face to face, you're more likely to uphold sportsmanship and like realize like you're both sitting in a room, you're both spending your time being there. And because on the internet, it doesn't feel like you're connected to your opponent.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I agree to an extent. I do feel like the biggest thing is, like Nick was saying, that you have to have people who are willing to enforce the rules. And I think in our community, and I mean, obviously, like in a lot of the communities, the judges don't want to be the bad guy.
Yeah,
But
in my story, he literally was like, "We don't want to be dicks."
Well,
yeah, that's exactly. And I'm like, but I was like, no, that's your job
You know
now.
what?
yeah,
Your job
unfortunately,
is to
that's
be
your
like, hey
job.
man, I'm not being a dick, but the rules say this. So sorry, you lost. You guys have like 45 minutes to your next round. Go do whatever.
Let
Oh,
me hold on. Let me point out we are not talking about in-person judges at any of the reach. As far as I'm concerned, every judge I've dealt with at an in-person event that has been on staff, that is there doing their job, has absolutely done their job very well. I have loved the judging staff at every event I've gone to, both this year and last year. I have no qualms with judges at in-person events. I've had judge calls on me, and it's always handled, even if it's not my favorite, they handle it well. They just, hey, this is why.
Yeah, so what I was gonna say is I agree. All my in-person judge calls had I don't think I've had any issues, regardless of which way they fell. But you were just complaining about a judge call.
A judge call in like a webcam event. That's what I'm saying.
well,
I'm making sure we keep this separate. So like we're not, oh hey, these guys hate judges, or hey,
Yeah, you want to keep them separate, but they're not technically separate. It could have even been the same judge. I don't know.
That's okay. That's what I'm trying to say is, as far as I know, the people judging the webcam events are at least 1/3 of the judge staff at in-person events usually. So
maybe
that's what's throwing me off.
So,
maybe
like,
because,
I
maybe because
can't-
webcam feels less personal. Like it feels so impersonal that I don't know, because I've never had issues with judge staff in person. I've only had this one issue on webcam, which is why I do not play webcam.
How many?
But I also want to
games
send
have
up
you played,
how many
Gene?
webcams did you play?
I played 4 rounds.
Just the one
Okay.
tournament though?
Yeah, I'm not gonna. Yeah, because I did not have. My experience was so lackluster.
Understand.
Also, a
so
dog shit
frustrating.
format.
But
This is also
so
the worst
I've
format to
played-
play Universus in.
Yeah, right.
I've played several webcam tournaments in a different game. So in those games, like playing with my opponents, everyone was very respectful to one another. If anybody had questions about a card, we would hold it up to the camera and everything, read it out loud. So like these issues that you've experienced, I've played at least 3 webcam tournaments and didn't experience any of those. It comes down to that judge made a bad call, and it's unfortunate. I understand that has ruined the webcam scene for you, but there is a world where the webcam scene could be very big and beneficial for the game if run correctly.
Sure, I'm not out here saying nobody should play webcam. I'm saying the reason I do not and that I don't like webcam is because of my bad experience. And personally, I think that if you are given any avenue to be able to try to cheat in something that matters reward wise, like you're being substantially compensated for winning or doing well in these tournaments, I think it incentivizes people to cheat in a way that is harder to catch than in person.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I think the only thing I have an issue with is the harder part, but I think it does also come down to like people don't want to be dicks. Like, I with the webcam circuit finals or whatever, the invitational from year 1, like David Toombs just didn't want to penalize my opponent who froze, and he wanted everything to be good and copacetic, and he like interfered even after Tam and David said we're just spectators, we're not judges, we're not involved. He like unmuted and got involved, and it like fucked me over, even though I was right. My opponent did freeze and stuff like that, and like I brought that stuff to his attention, and he just like didn't want drama. So I think maybe somehow on webcam people are just the same way that they're like feel more bold to like cheat. Maybe like judges and people involved are more risk averse, like they just don't want issues to come up. Because as someone who's run my own events, the last thing I want to deal with is a cheating scandal. The last thing I want to deal with is like, oh, this guy just broke the webcam rules and got away with it, or oh, my whole tournament, is ruined by a disconnect. So like
Now
I
been
get
brought
it.
into question. I agree with you, Sam. I think that like I think it feels like the people who are involved with this are a little afraid of being coming off in a harsh light, and I think part of that is the other half of being not in the same room. It's the anonymity of sorts of it again, of just being like, well, if I say this, somebody might not like it, someone might be upset about it, and then put me on blast. And our community is so small that like you put somebody on blast, everybody's gonna hear about it.
Yeah, it doesn't take long.
Yeah, definitely, especially in small community, right? But I don't know. I think if it were structured a little bit better and there was a judge program with incentivized judges to run a tight ship on webcam, and the big thing is like then webcam would have to be a real official format again, and they've kind of taken that away. All the webcam stuff we have now is community run, and from the outside looking in, it looks fine. It looks like I said, I'm not out here saying don't ever play webcam. I think you should sign up for the next Webcam Warriors. Shout out to my boy Sam Tate. I think you should go play in Tam's weekly Webcam Wednesdays and see what they're about. Like,
Yeah,
except for the retro one.
Definitely show up for the retro
Definitely the
one,
retro one.
and don't bring a retro. Bring a regular standard deck and be fine with it. Play however you can play is perfectly fine. And I definitely encourage people to check out Webcam for themselves. I just had a very bad experience over the course of a whole day that then ended in a cheating scandal for an event I cared about a lot.
Well, so two things. One is the locals level is almost certainly like the future of webcam. With David bowing out and like my own difficulties finding sponsors, you know, there's probably going to be like one more webcam warriors at the end of the year, you know, just to like get some scarcity so that people, because we also jumped into a lot of community events all at once. Like everyone wanted to like fill that gap and like it you know, final round was trying to do a thing, and there's Stark Dark, which is cool, and there's just kind of a lot for a small community. So with all the difficulties, the local level environment where there's no prizing, there's no reason for anyone to cheat you, and if they do cheat you, they didn't cheat you out of anything, is almost certainly like the future of webcam, from where we're going, or for where we're at. And I think that, I don't know, that's probably just the best for it at this point, because it does, it is hard to get people like excited, and charging people money for like the service of playing in a tournament is just not what people are into, and there's no participation pricing, so people have to feel like they're going to do well to feel like there's a reason to compete. And tournaments are loser factories. One person wins, 63 other people, hopefully 63 other people, you know,
everyone
however
else.
yeah, everyone else loses, right? So everyone outside of prizing, if prizing only goes to top 4, you know, everyone else loses. So you, as someone who's terrible at fighting games, has never won more than 2 matches at a locals, and threw $15 in for years playing in, what's the game, MVC Infinite or whatever, the really bad, that like played the worst game, but I was just like wanting to support this local bar that was doing locals on big TVs and like, you know, all this stuff. Like I was paying for the privilege of losing, you know, I was paying for the privilege of hopefully getting better at a game that I didn't even really like that much, just because these were the only people giving me a place to hang out and talk about fighting games. And webcam probably doesn't also serve that purpose like regionals do. And without like participation pricing, I think that locals casual play is just actually where it's going to end up.
So here's a question. What are the odds of being able to like actually get UVS to sponsor webcam games to provide promos or anything like that? Help
I
build the community. I mean, because that's the
Will help the
end all
webcam part of the
goal with it
community.
all. Yeah, for webcam tournaments.
Well, they were doing that for a long time
Well,
until the cheating thing.
so their official response, their response every time it's ever been brought up to them is, we don't have any plans for that. You know, they'll say it to your face. It's not a big deal. It's not like a thumb. You know, they're not biting their thumb at you. They just don't have plans for that anymore. And I haven't really. I've been meaning to like reach out to them specifically, but you know, the frankness with which they reply that there's no plans to support webcam has definitely deterred me from trying to go above and beyond. And uh, speaking frankly, if I maxed out the Webcam Warriors events, if we ever hit 64 people for any of these events ever, I think we got 63 one time, but like that's not maxing out, and you got to max out more than one tournament to like really show that there's like true desire for. I probably would have reached out to them. I probably would have asked
And that's hard to
Linoco
do
like,
without promotional or promo cards and everything else, because I know that was a
right.
big pool for the ones that I did. It was my easy access to be able to get a hold of these promos and potentially place well to get other cool stuff that was, you know, only offered through events.
So yeah, so it's an Ouroboros thing, right? It's I need sponsors to make the tournament worth signing up for, but sponsors need people to sign up to make it worth sponsoring, and that's why I can't get the same sponsors I did before. You know, I had amazing pricing for the first Webcam Warriors, and I haven't been able to get pricing. You know,
Like
I've
that
got pricing
sense.
about half that good. So
I was just gonna say, I'm wondering because we did talk about the constant amount of events and the fatigue from it. I wonder if maybe doing webcams once a quarter or something, like a bigger webcam event, if the right sponsors and the right product could be supported, given as support for the tournament, might have a better turnout more regularly.
That was actually basically what I was gonna say. I was like, there might be a world in which the community could build a webcam circuit that is split amongst the content creators that want to do it, and then one content creator doesn't have to run a whole circuit, right?
Mhm.
It becomes like the content creator circuit, and it goes, hey man, these 5 people are going to run tournaments over this year, and then you all just support each other on that same one. Be like, hey, we're all working on the Let's Talk UVS one that comes out in March, and then 2 months later, or 3 months later, it's Webcam Warriors with AceManeuvers, and so on and so forth. Instead of basically what happened, where you kind of end up competing with each other.
yeah, so that was one thing where I did talk to David, and like, you know, I do have to schedule like around him. But I ended up on the same day as the Boar's Head in-person event, you know, and again, I ended up
Mhm.
on people's local championships. So as far as like webcam specifically, we've been able to kind of naturally do that anyways, I feel. Um, and it if there was official promo support or something like that, like if there was like an overarching participation pricing, I guess it would make a lot more sense to do that. But like, I don't think there's that many people that want to run events. Full transparency, my desire to run events is primarily to make a little bit of money. That
Yeah.
is number one goal. I don't think that that's unfair, you know, and very close behind it, like very much almost an exact, you know, same amount of desire is to give people an avenue to play who don't have an avenue to play it more often. Um, but it doesn't. But where webcam a lot before was people who were like, "Well, I don't have a locals. I can't travel to a regional." You know, and especially like the webcam regionals where it's like I can't get points any other way. Um, I've seen from the most recent webcam events and stuff, and like the Ace arenas, where it's just the same grinders. It's the same tournament grinders. It's the same people who are trying to test their deck to prove it's real, to make some money, you know, playing like
Mhm.
what they know is just the most broken deck, right? Like, 'cause they're almost always like right after product comes out or right before product comes out, and we have it on TTS or something, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And so it's 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 in a weird spot. But I just yeah, like I think for David too, I think a big part for David was like he put it to where you know he's losing money for certain amount, which is like how I've changed how I do it. Like I scale it based on player attendance from the very bottom. You know, I don't really have like a certain guaranteed amount except I think maybe first place. So, uh, you know, I don't think that there's that many people that actually want to run a tournament because it is stressful. I mentioned earlier, like the biggest thing is like having a drama, you know, and like it's your responsibility. So that's like why UVS Games doesn't want to be involved is because if there's like a drama, you know, it comes back to them somehow.
Well, here's the wishful thinking and thoughts, and just hoping for something to develop in a way that the game becomes more accessible to other people and tournaments become more accessible for like regional play and having that potential to get your points for the world's event and everything. Because currently, like we kind of talked about, it's expensive, and I would love at least a few events to not have to spend $600+ going out to it.
Yeah, as someone who played almost exclusively webcam for 2 years, I absolutely love the fact that I can wake up and play my games in my room and order food from DoorDash or go downstairs and, microwave something, reheat something, whatever. And then when I eventually lose in top 8 or top 16, wherever the first round of top cuts is, I can just jump in my bed and cry.
You just do whatever now. Yeah, that was a big draw for me too. It was like I'd finish a round early and go, okay, cool. I'm gonna walk downstairs. I'm gonna hang out in my living room for a few minutes. I talk to the other people in my family and be like, yeah, I'm playing this tournament right now. Blah blah blah. Like, and then they'd be like, oh, how you doing? I'm like, well, I'm winning right now, or I can't lose anymore, kind of thing, and like have them cheer me on, and then not have them and then not have to be there to care. And then if like I lost, I was like, whatever. Let's go get dinner.
Yeah, when I was in Denver and I wasn't even in the event, I was just like, what do people do? Like, what do you do if there's no side events firing and like you've already lost? Like it was just like after round 2, I had people who were like 0-2 and they were like, man, I'm so done. Just gonna go home. I'm just gonna drive back or fly home. I think one of the Vegas guys got really upset because he just got his entire tournament ruined by Nick Reagan's. Like he beat everything that wasn't an all
Nick.
symbol Reagan or something, and he played like 3 of them. So he's X3, and he played until the final round, right? Like he was on a maybe winning in or whatever, and lost. And so he was just like, "Fuck it, man! I'm gonna pay to change my flight to right now, and I'm done. I'm out." And I was just like, "Damn,
Okay.
I was just like, this is what people do, So like having only played in webcam events, like it's been very easy to just be like, oh, I guess I'm just gonna feed my cat and do whatever now. Like it's nice.
Yeah, I also like to drop events and feed Sam's cat.
And then also change your flights to go home early to feed Sam's cat.
No, I don't go home early. I change my flights to go to Sam's house to feed his cat. I add a whole extra flight
You know what a great way to feed my cat is?
with my mouth, baby
No,
bird
join
style.
Weird.
Join the $5 tier on my Patreon. I can buy a lot of cat food with that $5.
Can you really buy a lot of cat food with $5?
I mean, more than a day's worth of meals, I would consider a lot.
That's fair. I guess that's fair.
Like if every single one, like I have like what 415 subscribers or whatever. I'm close to a cool number. I can't say it because I'm a UVS partner, but I've
Okay.
got I got 414 subscribers. If all of them were signed up to my $5 Patreon tier, I could probably do content full time and feed my cats.
You could feed yourself and your cats
No. He said do content full time and feed the cats.
as content.
Not himself. Not himself.
Not myself, no.
Well, I will tell you, I subscribed while we were while we were doing this video. So
Oh, did you? Nice.
yeah,
Awesome.
you got $5 from me. I was like, well, whatever, I'll hook you up.
Hey,
I thought about
if everyone just signed up at the $1 tier, that would be a ton of
something,
cats.
yeah.
So cats would
All
be
I
eating
know
good all
is that $50 tier's calling. I want to get that top cut.
I thought about if you had a donation tier, I would have donated some random number and been like, here's your pay for showing up on our podcast. Your check's in the mail.
You know what's funny is I have a tier. I have a tier for that actually.
Is there one where you can custom? I know there's one for like the commissions and stuff.
We talked about it earlier, but the $30 tier. Remember, I said there's something else I couldn't remember. The extra benefit at the $30 tier is not only do you get the commissions for videos every month, but you get a personalized message in one video per month, i.e., you get a sponsorship from me or on my channel.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I missed it. I should have.
At $30, you become an official sponsor of AceManeuvers.
Yeah, basically. Like based on everything I saw, I would be single-handedly feeding your cats.
Yeah, I think that's actually going to end up doing it for today. If you like listening to us yap, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us out way more than you know. If you want to throw in your 2 cents about webcam, please comment down below. We'd love to hear what you think, as well as content you'd like to see in the future from Response on Play. Share the comments down below, and we will more than likely reply to you. We love good conversation. As always, thank you for joining us. No more responses. I've been Jake. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to have.
I'm Sam Tate, and I'm teaming up with the Ackermans.
I'm Brian. I am not a webcam warrior, but I sure like to become one.
And I'm Nick. UVS, please bring back webcam games.
And now it's we wanted like the Naruto rap, the
Yeah, and then
Pokemon
afterwards,
rap.
so
yeah,
got the
yeah.
100 pit.